Welcome back to DIY No Need to Cry with Ivelisse. DIY sports fan decoupage wine bottle. All the materials I used for this DIY are listed in the description box below. Using white acrylic paint and a Pouncer brush, I painted the whole bottle twice, letting it dry between each coat. Once it's fully dried, using a paintbrush and acrylic paint in the color Thicket, I painted a stripe around the bottom of the bottle. Try to keep the thickness consistent around the whole bottle as much as you can, but don't worry if it isn't perfect, as you will see me overlap it to make it even using the next color. Once you're done, set that aside to dry. Using the color School Bus Yellow, I started the second stripe. What I'm creating is the stripe pattern on the team jerseys. With this color, I can go over any spots of the green that was too thick and make the stripe even. Once you are done, continue up the bottle until you have achieved this pattern. I went over it several times and touched up any spots until I was satisfied. I then touched up the final yellow stripe using white acrylic paint and a Pouncer brush. You can use a brush if you'd like, then let that dry. While that dried, I prepared the piece of fabric that I was going to decoupage onto the bottle. I cut up a pair of men's athletic mesh shorts. Using a Pouncer brush and that same green paint I used for the stripes, I painted the fabric on both sides. Remember that the paint will bleed through the fabric, so make sure to put something under the fabric before painting, and your hands will get paint all over them, so you might want to wear a pair of plastic gloves for this part as well. Using binder clips, I clipped the wet fabric onto a hanger and hung it up to dry. Once it was dry, I measured the piece I wanted and cut it out. Now it was time to decoupage the fabric onto the bottle. Using a clean brush and Mod Podge glue, I placed glue on the bottle and placed the fabric on top, going around the whole bottle until the whole piece was glued down. I then gave it a top layer of Mod Podge, let that dry. Using a Pouncer brush and the same green acrylic paint, I painted the top of the bottle until I reached the neck. Be careful and try not to get any paint on the fabric. It's the same color, but it will still be noticeable if you do, and set that aside to dry. Then I created the same pattern to the neck as I did the bottom of the bottle, except I painted the very rim of it with the green. While that dried, I prepared the napkin I was going to decoupage onto the front. I cut out the design I wanted, separated the plies of paper, but with this bottle I kept both pieces. You will need both pieces because I needed to add a white base before decoupaging the napkin. So I decoupaged the plain white one onto the bottle first, to then use it as a guide to know where to paint white. Using Mod Podge and a brush, I decoupaged the white piece onto the bottle. Let that dry. I then painted over that with white acrylic paint and a sponge brush, making sure to stay within the line, but getting as close as I could. Let that dry. Now taking the printed piece of napkin, lining it up as best as I could, I decoupaged it on top of that. When that was dry, I placed the name using sticker letters and the number on the back of the bottle. This bottle was requested by my father for my brother. He is a big Green Bay Packers fan. He also plays sports and his player number was 4. Once I had arranged them the way I liked, I sealed them with a coat of Mod Podge and let that dry. I then coated the whole bottle in Mod Podge and let that dry. I then took the NFL official sticker off the napkin packaging and glued it to the neck of the bottle on the back. Finally, I sprayed the whole bottle with a coat of Rust-Oleum triple thick glaze. Let that dry, and now you have a piece that any sports fan will love. I love how this bottle came out. This was a tricky one to figure out, but I worked it out, and now all you have to do is follow my steps. Remember, you can do this with any team you like. This would make a great centerpiece for a Super Bowl party or a gift for that family member who is a die-hard fan. It would also make a great piece for a home bar, and let's not forget how amazing this would look in a man cave. Thanks for watching! If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me in the comments section below. If this is your first time watching, I hope you consider subscribing to get updates on future videos. And remember, do it yourself. There's no need to cry. If you want to see how I made the wine stopper for this bottle, the link to that video is in the description box below.